Welcome back to another episode of The Hardcore Casual with your boy, Bass the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It is appreciated. Now, usually there'd be weekend rap situations happening, and obviously we're going to deal with that tomorrow. As always, I could have brought it forward a day, but I decided nope, that's going to take place when it usually does. However, there is some stuff we need to talk about from last night, and I think you guys know where I'm gonna be going with this one. So sit back and relax. But before I get into that, a couple other small bits of piece of information I will talk about. So without further ado, let's get into it. So a couple of days ago, a poster came out courtesy of Boxing King Media. So salute to him and the channel, basically saying that Terence Crawford versus Chris Eubank Jr. was in the works and was reportedly agreed. I think it was late on Thursday, Chris Eubank Jr. also posted the picture basically saying with the shush emoji, like, yep, this is taking place, like, don't argue about it. And it makes perfect sense if you're gonna be moving up potentially for I guess a Canelo fight, or even like a 154, or maybe going to 160 looking for, you know, another title opportunity. It makes sense to test the waters with someone that campaigns in and around those weights. Now, I know that Terence Crawford was at the WBO convention and was speaking about exercising his super champ status to go up and face Tim Tszyu for his belt. But I can obviously see Tim Tszyu has a fight scheduled for the end of this month. Probably wouldn't be available again until about maybe July, August. So if this fight with Chris Eubank Jr. ended up being a fight that takes place, say, end of May, start of June time, for example, then that sort of gives him enough time to then possibly move back down in weight, the 6 pounds down to 154 to go and face Tim Tszyu for his belt towards the back end of the year, possibly then capping off with I don't know, maybe getting a Canelo Alvarez fight in December or something, if it can happen. Clearly this whole move up is purely about testing the waters, making sure he's comfortable up there for an impending bout with someone who I guess campaigns at a much higher weight than himself. And like, if it's not a Chris Eubank Jr., it might even end up being like a Carlos Adames at 160 or something towards the end. So not quite sure, but by all rights that looks like it's gonna be the situation. I know a lot of people have been saying, well, what about Bomac? I mean, you know, he's being trained by Bomac at this point in time. Well, officially, from what I remember, he never actually left Roy Jones Jr. It was just Roy wasn't available to come over for the rematch with Liam Smith. Now, usually that means officially that, yeah, you kind of part ways with someone because Roy Jones Jr. had some other commitments so he couldn't come over and do the training. But that doesn't necessarily mean that relationship is fully, you know, out the window. But even if it isn't, or if it is, it doesn't actually matter, because you have a Terence Crawford versus Chris Eubank Jr. fight. There's only one winner in terms of who the trainer is, and Bomac is only going to be good with Terence Crawford. Like, Chris has no say in the matter, nor would he be delusional enough to expect that he would get preferential treatment. So yeah, interested to see what kind of happens with that one. So fight I'd definitely watch. I'd look forward to it. I know exactly how it would go, but I'd like to see how it got to that destination. But yeah, that's the news on that one. And I guess a quick bit of news: officially announced Canelo Alvarez versus Jaime Munguia on both PBC pay-per-view, Prime Video pay-per-view and the DAZN pay-per-view. So joint promotion, or at least I guess a joint pay-per-view. I don't know how much involvement Golden Boy Promotions has within this. I don't think it's that much. I think the deal has been done primarily with Zamfa Promotions, which is Jaime Munguia's co-promoter. So the way I understand it to work is that, you know, Golden Boy, I guess, have first rights to promote his shows, but anything they do has to be dealt with via DAZN, and Zamfa have the ability to put him on other shows. Because I remember there was a show he done one time in Mexico back in, I think it was 2021. It wasn't on DAZN, and it wasn't a Golden Boy Promotions card. I think it was like a Zamfa show, and they had him go international technically for that fight. So yeah, I mean, I guess Zamfa primarily kind of allow Golden Boy to have the lead because they've got the network relationships, but they have the ability to organize and arrange other bouts outside of that agreement. I don't know exactly how it works, but that pretty much seems to be the crux of the situation. So yeah, I guess they're expecting this one to do big numbers, hence why they've got it on both platforms. And it also is interesting to see, I guess, how the rights will be split between it. If it's just gonna literally you get to choose where it goes, or if maybe they both have like the United States, but then DAZN gets like the entire European market and maybe like the Eastern European market, but like Prime gets the Japanese market, or you're sort of like the Far East and that sort of region, and maybe Australia. It would be interesting to find out sort of how that works, but I'm definitely believing that they're looking, this is going to do some numbers, hence why they've obviously made it pay-per-view on both platforms. It would be interesting. I mean, some people say Canelo's only sort of been around sort of the 600,000-700,000 at the moment, but I've seen a couple of Mexican nationals or Mexican Americans on my feed that have been saying, nah, this will do numbers, like this will be a million sellout, or maybe even more than that. So I guess two Mexicans showing out. I don't know if that's usually the recipe for for the big numbers, but both guys do have their core followings, so I expect it to be a good one. But at least it's all been sorted out now. We kind of know what's happening, and yeah, let's look forward to May the 4th and let's get with it. Okay, so now let's talk about last night. Very, very briefly. As I said, we're going to do more of the deep dive of the overall night on Weekend Wrap tomorrow. But Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou, second round KO. Devastation, demolition, sent to the shadow realm, iced, like whatever vernacular, whatever terms you want to use, it occurred. And lo and behold, yet again, it shows just how much of a fraud Tyson Fury is. Now, I don't want to hear anything about triangle theories or styles make fights and blah, blah, blah. Yes, that is very true, but that is not what we are seeing here. What we are now seeing is clearly a case of patterns of behavior. Every single time they've had a common opponent, Anthony Joshua deals with that person emphatically, whereas Tyson Fury either labors to a points decision or ends up going life and death. There's one person, the name, I can't actually remember the name of the second opponent in common. They've had five opponents in common. I know there was Dillian White, there's Vladimir Klitschko, Otto Wallin, Francis Ngannou, and Kevin Kingpin Johnson. So that's the five that they've had in common. So of those five, Tyson Fury has actually only KO'd one of them, which is Dillian White. KO'd him a round earlier than Anthony Joshua did. So you might say he had the better of that one. Obviously, Dillian White rocked AJ, didn't rock Tyson Fury. But then some people say that was a faded or a shattered version of Dillian White. Maybe better experience, but just a bigger, sort of slower, not as durable version. One that's already been knocked out the year before. So, but then you got the opposite direction. You've got Vladimir Klitschko. Tyson Fury pretty much dominated him for 8 to 9 rounds of their fight. Sort of Klitschko came on towards the end of the fight. It looked like the tide was turning, but by that time it was a bit too late. The rematch never happened, so we never got to see the conclusive, the conclusiveness of, was Tyson Fury just that much better than him, or was it an off night? We never got to find that one out. Now Anthony Joshua, takes a massive right hand from Klitschko in the 6th round. Has to come through a crisis, has to come through a major adversity. Bear in mind, this was also 8 fights earlier than the time when Tyson Fury fought him, but ended up closing the show emphatically and making it obvious who the winner and who the man was, dropping Klitschko 3 times, stopping him on his feet as well. Then you look at Kevin Kingpin Johnson. Tyson Fury had 12 rounds with him, and it was 12 very competitive rounds. Like while he may have been the clear winner, he wasn't that clear, if you get my drift. Anthony Joshua, I believe he knocked him out, what was it, first round? I believe he knocked him out in the first round. Otto Wallin. Tyson Fury goes life and death with Otto Wallin, gets a massive cut over the eye, which could have forced the fight to be stopped on several different occasions. Gets the decision after 12 rounds. To be honest, he won about 8 to 9 of those rounds quite comfortably, but life and death. Anthony Joshua dispatches of him in 5 rounds. Tyson Fury goes 10 rounds with Francis Ngannou and gets dropped in the 3rd round by a guy making his boxing debut. A guy that doesn't even have like the basic fundamentals of boxing down to a science. Like, yes, he's a spectacular athlete. He's a generational type athlete, but fundamentally, boxing is not his thing. Yes, he's a good striker, but striking is different to actual boxing. But that's the person that Tyson Fury let drop him. Goes life and death with him. Makes many people think that Francis Ngannou won that fight. Now, yes, to his credit, I will always say, as much as I don't like Tyson Fury, I did give him the fight. 95-94 was my scorecard. But a vast majority of people believe that Francis Ngannou beat the lineal WBC heavyweight champion of the world in his boxing debut. Anthony Joshua comes across again, cleans up that work. 2 rounds, 3 knockdowns, the last of which savage. Francis Ngannou out on the floor for over 3 minutes. But yet everyone wants to believe that Tyson Fury is the king of the heavyweight division. Or even if he slipped a bit, like, these guys still can't see him. He's leagues above everyone else. He's a big power puncher. He's X, Y, and Z. Okay. Power puncher based off of what? Deontay Wilder? What? Stick leg Wilder? Wilder who ain't had a chin since 2009. That Wilder. Knocked down by Harold Sconias, which no one can't seem to find the footage. I've seen the footage. I've seen the fight. Like, that was a legit knockdown. Same Wilder that got rocked by Eric Molina. Like, this Wilder, the same Wilder that even got hurt by Johan Duhaupas and stunned pretty badly. The same Wilder whose best win was an aging Luis Ortiz, and that up to this day, that's still the only win that people give him on the record. That's the guy that Tyson Fury's based his entire legacy off of. No one don't even really talk about Klitschko that much anymore. It's all about the trilogy with Wilder. That trilogy was manufactured. That trilogy was not what people made it out to be. That trilogy was designed to try and freeze Anthony Joshua out of the heavyweight picture, because no one wanted to unify with him, because he was the cash cow making all the money. So they was trying to go other routes to make money without him, not allowing him to break bread. That's just the facts of it. And that whole narrative has now crumbled, because you've got Joseph Parker, who's now dealt with Deontay Wilder in a fashion. You've got Anthony Joshua, who then dealt with arguably the hardest work that Tyson Fury had in the ring, in Otto Wallin. The same Joseph Parker that was, I'm not going to say my opinion on how I felt the fight with him and Anthony Joshua went. I remember I was there. But the same Joseph Parker that Anthony Joshua then beat, then Dillian White then beat. The same one that, no one really gave a hope to when Deontay Wilder was going to face him. apart from me and a handful of other people who heavily backed Joseph Parker to win that fight. Now, to be fair, the wins against Joseph Parker are now aging like fine wine. The Dillian White win against him is aging gracefully. The Anthony Joshua win is aging gracefully, because after what he's done in his last couple fights, I mean, not much else you can say. But it's like every win that Tyson Fury is having is aging horribly at this point. If your best wins is Wilder, and Wilder's getting beat by a guy that most people didn't even think was in the top half or even the top bottom half of the top 10 rankings before, in Joseph Parker, yeah, how does that make your legacy look? When Luis Ortiz is out there basically trying to fight people he's fighting on local shows in Colombia at this point, getting dropped by Charles Martin and Andy Ruiz, coming off of long layoffs as well. Even though he managed to come back and get the win against Charles Martin, he looked to fade the shell of himself. But again, that's the best win of your best win. How does that make you look? Otto Wallin, the same guy that basically almost took everything away from you, just being an unknown quantity. 5 rounds, demolition, barely landed a punch of his own. Again, Kevin Kingpin Johnson, 12 hard rounds with Kingpin Johnson. Joshua KOs in it was either the first or the second. Francis Ngannou, 10 hard rounds with Francis. Making boxing look like a joke, making the MMA people think they can track to boxing in any way, shape or form. And don't even get it twisted, I like MMA, I like watching the UFC. Not as much as I used to, but I still watch the cards. But you had these people come in thinking that, oh yeah, like, this is, we're the real generals of this sport, we're the baddest people in the world. Because of you, make a next man have to come and clean up your work yet again. Second round brutal stoppage. So now that's why I'm not talking about triangle theories when I say the fraudulence has been exposed, because the best of Tyson Fury's resume and is supposed to be Deontay Wilder, who was soundly beaten by a guy who was soundly beaten by several other guys who were never figured to even be in the top 5 of the division at the time. Maybe number 5 at best. That's what we're looking at this point in time. So this whole facade of Tyson Fury has come off of the back of this falsified trilogy, and now everything's crumbling down. It's all been exposed, and I still want Fury AJ, even if Fury gets bossed up by Usyk, which I expect that to happen. See, I haven't even done basis picks for the fight yet. I'm telling you right now, my pick is Usyk via stoppage. That's my prediction for that May 18th fight. So I don't even need to do basis picks on it. You got it right here. But I'm telling you, even if that happens, I still want AJ to fight him, because for all the years, the running, the failed negotiations, the negotiating in bad faith, acting as if it's the other side that don't want to do the deal, acting like it's the other side that's scared of the gypsy fraud. No. I need that fight, because I need AJ to put an exclamation point on that as well. And the funny thing is, I'm not even a big AJ fan. I never have been. He's not one of my favorite heavyweights, but the way this guy has been spun to be almost the villain in this story is crazy. And I ain't here for it. And so because of that, when things like this happen, it's up to people like me and people like, I don't know, anyone else who's credible, people like Ring IQ, people like Boxing Beats and Rams, to a lesser extent people like G-Man, people like Ade, who I know we can't really say certain things, but you have to let people know, no, the narrative has to stop. But yeah, I'm glad the fraud is now exposed, the fraudulence is over, or at least it should be come the 18th of May. I'm looking forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about this. And hey, if you disagree heavily with what I say, put all that down there as well. I might do a live stream soon. I'll address all of it. All of you can come in, give your live chats, and we'll talk through it. But with that being said, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And that's the Hardcore Casual out.